Tracy Dixon, transmitting to you from the All Fiction Podcast Studios. Thanks for tuning in to the Steeger Classic Pulp Podcast, presented by Steeger Books, the purveyors of quality facsimiles and reprints of classic pulp magazines and story anthologies. Need more pulp? Visit SteegerBooks.com. You'll find a nifty promo code in this episode's description. Remember to follow our shows so you don't miss a single episode. Following us and leaving us a comment helps your podcast provider find us and suggest our shows to other listeners. And please be sure to click that share button. We'd appreciate it. Previously on Tin Star. The Baxter Boys blasted the bank at Waterman Station and escaped with stolen cash, leaving 4 dead men behind them. Deputy Pop Rixley found himself forced to ride with the territory's ambitious new sheriff, Covington Cole, a man he had known and distrusted since the war. As the posse prepared to enter the hills, Coale hinted that more men would die before the hunt was over. As we tune in, the ragtag posse is on the hot and dusty trail. Chapter 2, Death Trail.
The nooning sun had brass teeth that chewed into their necklines and chopped at their hands and made them ride with faces down and shoulders up. It made hock-deep powder of the trails south, and the slow stamp of hooves spanked dust upward and plastered them with it until everything but the insides of mouths and the undersides of hats was a creased yellow that turned to itching mud when mixed with sweat. Coale had struck the Baxters' trace less than a mile from Waterman Station, as he'd said he would, and now he was thrusting south along it, with his coat pinned back and his guns agleam, and his gloved hands loose on the reins. Coale half-turned to Rixley.
"The Baxter Boys will make a nice bag,"
Rixley said. "Yes."
"Once, when I was town marshal of Missouri City, I saw Drew Baxter kill a man."
"You did." There was no interest in Rixley's voice, only polite acknowledgement. Rixley would have much preferred to scan the foothills and cast ahead for a change of trail.
"I did. Drew and his brother Clifton came into the Bonanza bar, and this man went for his gun, and Drew shot him. Very nice gun work."
Rixley swallowed sandily. "What did you do?"
"My lord."
Covington Cole hesitated a moment. He was not a swearing man, and neither was he a drinking man, for he considered both habits as weakening to any man.
"Nothing."
"Nothing at all?" Coale swept his heat-stung eyes around the rising foothills before he answered.
"There was nothing to do. This man was a far worse character than Drew Baxter at that time. Therefore, his death was a benefit to the community. You must always think of the welfare of the majority, Mr. Rixley, and not of the welfare of yourself."
"Possibly."
"Precisely."
Coale ran his gloves along the side brimming of his hat. He liked to stay neat at all times.
"But I knew we'd meet again, Baxter and myself."
He made a sound resembling a chuckle.
"It is notable, Mr. Rixley, that death always comes as a stranger to a man whose road has run out. Do you know why?"
"No, Sheriff. Tell me why." Coale almost grinned.
"Because he never knows when his road has run out."
Coale swung full around in a saddle.
"Do you understand me?"
Pop Rixley eyed him curiously. Then he cut his right arm down in a sharp angle and held it on the trail. They went up here, up towards Manitou, and Covington Cole grinned.
"Thank you, Mr. Rixley."
He collected rein and nodded.
"I was hoping you'd note that."
Pop Rixley liked the man less than ever, and he had to face away so that his scorn-packed eyes would not be seen by this man, who had come dandily out of the north to show the Tom Daw posse what to do. They camped dry that night. A breeze drifted down through the cedars from Manitou Mountain, and it brought something of the place with it, and it was not pleasant. damp rocks that never dried nor warmed. So deep were they in slitted crevices and tangled ravines. Rotting windfalls and the nauseous odors of matted meadow grass in tiny box canyons that were scarcely lighted by the sun. A hellish place to seek a man, and a heavenly place to hide from one. Pop Rixley had lived more years than he had left to live, and he had learned the uses of caution. From his blanket, he asked the darkness in Coale's direction, "Don't you think we should go around instead of straight in?" From the darkness came the reply, metallic and thin.
When you find a trail, stay on it. It's a matter of timing, nothing more.
Ambush was on Rixley's mind. He'd seen one years before in a Virginia valley when quick-minded Longstreet had pounced on plodding George Meade's point patrols and butchered them, and left them for the flies. Rixley shuddered there in the cedar-scented night. Softly, so everyone would not hear it, he said, "We could get jumped if we aren't careful."
Drew Baxter's time has run out. What little he has remaining, I'll use for my own purposes. And Mr. Rixley, I'll thank you to get some sleep. We have a hard ride tomorrow, and maybe a fight.
Shortly, Rixley relaxed into slumber, but not before he fretted to himself and envisaged again how a man gets wounded or killed. He's tight-thighed to a bucking saddle, and he's squeezing them off at whatever he can see, and then something appears for an instant in front of him. It's coming right into him. It punches through his stomach and snaps him forward, and leaves him numb in the back and a fire in front. And unaccountably, he's head low and butt high, and then he's tumbling into the grass with blood bubbles sobbing through his teeth. The trampled grass and the smoke-laced air whirl away from his dimming eyes, and the crash of gunfire and bump of horses fades from his ears. And then there is silence for him. Coale was bending over his half-hunter watch, and when he straightened in the dawn paleness, he announced that it was 4 o'clock and time to ride.
We can eat in the saddle. Where's that Mex boy?
He thrust the watch into his waistcoat and used his boots on men still sleeping. And by 4:15, Covington Cole and his posse of 7 and his Mex herder and pack train of 2 horses were all filing out of the cedars and up into the passes that led to Manitou Mountain. At daybreak, Coale halted them while he and Rixley crawled ahead and had a look at the rock walls where the steep ascent began. Twice they crossed the softening half-moons of many hoofs in the dew-moistened ground, and once they found a crumpled wad of burnt brown paper.
Drew's brother Clifton. He smokes brown paper cigarettes.
By mid-morning they were at the base of the rocks, and Coale stopped again. Sunlight was sallow here, and the rocks were not yet warm, and the sweat stayed chill on crumpled flannels, and sent little icy fingernails up ribs and backs to tauten neck muscles. There was a steady eagerness in Coale's eyes, and when he lifted them to view the rocks, Rixley saw the flinty green pupils in the hard brown irises.
The time I ran down the Daughtry gang and boxed 'em up in a canyon was something like this. Crime seems to follow a pattern.
He lay a glove to the rocks and rubbed them idly. Pop shifted his shrinking eating tobacco from one cheek to the other and glanced back at the shapes of Orville Pratt and Fred Gulick and Les Yeager and Harry Howe and the others. He saw the quarter horse nervous on its lead. 8 men mobile plus a mix herder plus 2 pack horses and a getaway nag are squatting quail for 14 men in the bushes, with hammers cocked, if I may say so.
If you wish to return to Waterman's, you may do so, Mr. Rixley.
Pop wanted to do personal violence on the man with his hands. Now get us up the rocks, Sheriff. Coale tugged his hat at an angle, wiped his gloves, hitched at his beltings, and swung off his horse.
You, Pratt, you're the smallest man. Shimmy that tree there and watch upstairs. You'll be almost level with the top of this wall. If anything moves, shoot it.
The sheriff had it all planned. Lace a halter from bridle to bridle, with a holding hitch on the bit chains. Each rider to walk at his horse's haunches, ready to push the quarter horse. Pratt to follow all of them. And that's the way they threaded upward diagonally, in irregular accordion movements. And that's how they reached the top of the rocks in time to meet the sun. And that's how they pushed southwest toward the stony thumb of Manitou, easing their way in a long breath of saddle soap and damp flannel and soaked leather. At 9 o'clock, Coale stopped again and had a long look around.
I want some more sign. I want to be sure.
Pop Rixley passed the word. Pratt and Yeager, stand in your stirrups on watch. The rest of you scatter into the bushes and cut for a trail. The Mex boy found it. Perico himself came out of the scrub oak, brown and smiling, his teeth like a white sickle in his face.
Aquí, señores. They go that way.
His arm was jabbing dead south at a point left of Manitou Mountain. Coale led out through the whipping bushes and took them across bare ground where the half-moons of many hoofs were plainer. He took them fast along that shoulder that rightfully belongs to Manitou only, and he rode with eyes high and elbows back, ready to draw. If only a sketch artist from the Kansas Times were here. It was the spur music that was bothering Pop Rixley. It was the music of spurs and the complaint of drying leather and the thumping of hoofs and the jingle of bit rings. It was the thump of hoofs and the snorting of horses and the cracking of fetlocks. One horse sounds like one horse, and 2 horses sound like 2. But 11 horses sound like 40. And then it occurred to Rixley that they were wide open anyway, and the noise didn't matter. Who was it who had always preached, "Ride to the sound of the guns"? The French Marshal Murat, that's who. And look what happened to Murat. Pop wished he'd never quit prospecting. He wished further that he'd never left the Bismarck Tribune to take up prospecting. Back in Bismarck, setting type and writing ads. That was for Pop Rixley. He estimated the distance to Manitou at 1 mile. Not a straight horse mile that you ride on the flatland, but a twisting rock-studded mile that would add up to 2 miles. And then there was the ominous lump of the mountain, 1,000 feet of it. Pop blew out his tobacco and tongued his gums and made spit with an effort. Something was wrong, and he couldn't nail it down in his mind. But something wasn't right. It was the way Covington Cole rode, with shoulder blades square across. It was in the way he wore his hat at a jaunty tilt. It was the way he was careless with his rowels, allowing them to spin crazily on bush tops. They made a short "weir" sound that sounded louder to Pop Rixley than any other sound. He wished he hadn't blown his tobacco out. A man whose road has run out. The phrase scampered across Pop's mind, and he chased it away. He wondered what the man's wife would look like. High-chinned, he supposed, arched of throat and graceful of body, and with feline precise manners. The governor's lady-to-be, tipping tea into correspondence cups while the governor, somewhat haughtily, waved a white glove toward the sideboard for those who wished something, stronger. Yes, gentlemen, I clearly recall the time I trapped the Baxter Boys. I was anchored to an amateur posse from Tom Daw County. And I tell you, sirs, it was all I could do to... What? Oh yes, brave enough, all of them, but not too aware of their responsibility toward the welfare of the majority. Cautious about riding right in and attacking. Too cautious. Time wasters, all of them. Pop Rixley thought a cinch had parted. He jerked straight in the saddle, and that's when he saw the white fluff of smoke sprout from the bushes at the base of the mountain. The bullet snarled past and rapped off a rock and whinnied away to nothingness. The posse buckled together and started to mill and swing outward. Perico's bleated "Caramba!" was clear on the still noon air. And then Coale was blatting at them.
Left and right of trail. Dismount and advance on foot. Keep low. Pack train to the rear for cover.
The second shot ripped Coale's hat off and spun it into the dust and slocked into a tree stump. A protracted crackling sound spatted from the bushes, like the death rendering of a great tree toppling over and hauling its roots free. The whiplash of rifle fire cut their ears, and Orville Pratt was down, legs thrashing and arms beating. His horse flew back toward the rock wall, and lithe Perico lunged gracefully and snagged it down and pegged it. Silence once more. Cartridge smoke was frosty for a moment, then melted away. The soprano whicker of a startled horse racketed briefly, and silence returned. The sun crossed the meridian and entered the afternoon. Pop Rixley had to rise slightly from his knees in order to find Covington Cole. The sheriff was across the trail, hard down in the scrub, bareheaded and blinking. He had thick, tawny hair that once had been wavy, but which now was splayed all over his head in wet brown ropes. Thin on the stillness came mocking, flute-high words.
"How's Dandy Call today?"
Coale cocked up a handgun and took saloon aim and fired. The shot struck sparks off stone, and in its echo was the echo of harsh laughter. Coale lowered himself to his elbows and looked left and right, fore and aft. He blew smoke from the lip of his gun and holstered it.
Rixley, who's down?
Only Pratt. Back a ways.
Dead?
Quiet. Can't ride any more today. Coale sucked in a labored breath.
Call your names, softly. Let me know where you are.
His eyes spotted each voice as it spoke. Only Perico didn't answer. He was too far back. Coale had a plan. Nothing fazed Coale, it seemed to Rixley. Coale whispered his plan in every direction. Keep low, stay in the brush, wriggle forward, leave the horses behind. Through cupped gloves, he warned,
They're in that box canyon at the base of the mountain. We'll leave the horses behind as decoys. On my signal, we rush in.
He ogled Rixley through breeze-bestirred grasses.
Maybe that scattergun'll come in handy.
Rixley made spit with an effort. Seems queer they don't hole up on the mountain. And Coale swung his jaws to and fro in denial.
They'd never get down. Where they are now, they can run. And I propose to prevent it.
They pinned their animals in the brush and waited for Coale to pass the signal. He held up a gloved fist, then slid it forward and downward. Rixley was snaking over the shale and through the sunburnt grasses, with his scattergun held across the crooks of his elbows, army fashion. Coale was hitching forward on one hip, shoving with his boots, propelling himself with his body. He held a handgun half-raised, searching for targets. But there were no targets, only waving grasses rimming the ledge of the box canyon, and weather-turned obscene shrub trunks, and the broken shale that swept upward to the serrated sides of Manitou Mountain. They had covered less than 50 yards and had 500 to go when a shot clanged from ahead and the bullet hurtled low through the grass tops and whined away.
Filthy going. Ha! My waistcoat's a mess.
Something like slow admiration for the man passed through Pop Rixley, and he began to like him a little more. Maybe the man was not nearing the end of his road after all. Maybe. The word kept returning to him, taunting him, questioning him. Coale got off a shot, and there was a tumbling noise from ahead, as of a body windmilling down past ledges and roots. Another shot came from the waving grasses, and something plucked at Pop Rixley's grimy sleeve and passed on.
They're shooting wild. They can't see us.
At 100 yards, he halted them with a back-and-forth gesture of his fist.
Get your breaths. Work your leg muscles in and out.
You could hear them gasping there. You could hear their leather creak, and you could see the rising uncertainty in their eyes as they waited for Covington Cole to lead them into a hidden box canyon at unknown odds. Why not ease around on both sides and cut them off? Coale had an answer for everything.
Because they'd rush back this way and steal our horses. Fresh horses is what they want.
He shook his head.
We'll jump first.
Pop Rixley was in a wry mood then. I'm crawling out my destiny when I should be riding it out. Here I am, 60 years living, and I'm pushing my chin through the dirt just to back up a stranger with fancy ways who wants to be governor of a state that doesn't exist yet. What'd he say? About the welfare of the many. A shot belled the afternoon from the box canyon, and the grasses sprang apart. The bullet howled close to Rixley's ear and plunked into a tree somewhere behind him. The posse edged forward, keeping a wide formation, a semicircle, as the voice of Drew Baxter mocked the silence.
Stand up, Dandy. I want to aim on your stick pin.
Laughter welled hollowly from the small canyon. Coale risked another bullet, and the laughter ceased. And there was the erratic whirring sound of voices flung to and fro. A horse nickered. The posse's patience was stretching tight like a dried-out drumhead. They began to make small talk in husky whispers, shipping it back and forth as men toy with coins. Coale warned them to shut up. Someone said, "Let's get it over with." Rixley eased the breath from his lungs and licked his teeth. "Bluff him, Coale. Tell him to come talk, then grab him for hostage."
At those odds.
Drew Baxter makes the odds what they are. Get him, and you got 'em all. Coale's tone was lofty.
He'd never fall for that.
Thought I'd try, that's all. Pop Rixley didn't want to dive into that canyon. He wanted to snake around both sides of it and join yonder where the shoulder fell away to the flatlands south of the mountain. Then it would be simple to drop shot into the box, fish in a barrel. The surround would be thin, but it would be good. Better than a headlong rush. Rixley propped up a terrain picture in his mind. This open meadow they were thrusting through led to the box at the base of the mountain. And the mountain rose sheer on this side for 300 yards and stopped. On the other side it had paths, and the paths overlooked the flatland to southward. But if you could reach the other side of the canyon, you would command the canyon and the paths and the meadow. Coale, you gotta hear sense. You gotta reach both arms round that box and shake hands with yourself on the other side of it. Then you got 'em squeezed. Covington Cole wrenched full around to Rixley and lay his cheekbone to forearm and spoke across his wrist.
I am Mr. Coale, not Coale, Mr. Rixley, and I'll remind you that I give the orders, not you. I will further remind you that when we return to Waterman's with the bodies, I am lifting your badge and placing you under arrest. The charge will be dereliction of duty according to the peace officer's code, and the sentence will be whatever I suggest to the territorial governor.
The tide of Rixley's opinion ebbed the other way, and he had to be careful with his voice. Well, sir, you can take your peace officer's code and... 2 shots stabbed the sentence to death, and the bullets gasped into the grass roots and smoked dust out of the ground. The echoes fluttered away on the breeze, and there was silence again. The posse had 200 yards to go. There was movement in the grass down there, and Coale fired again and saw dust spring up and dip away.
I think now.
He had his other handgun out of its antelope holster, and he held it high.
We'll belly another 50 yards, then sprint for it. Come on, Mr. Rixley. That scattergun is nice at close ranges.
Faster now. They pumped thighs and elbows and frogged in a narrowing semicircle that was unconsciously brought together by the imminence of action. Faster crabbed the men of the Tom Daw posse, until their lungs were small from lack of air, and their legs were throbbing from the steady effort of propulsion. Coale passed one more order.
Don't shoot wild. Aim if you can. Run and duck. Run and flop. But keep moving. A moving target is harder to hit than a still one. Now!
That ends Part 2 of the Steeger Classic Pulp Podcast presentation of Tin Star. This AI repertory theater production was produced and directed by Keith Bryan Shaw. Tune in next time for the exciting conclusion. Remember to help us grow our audience by following our shows and telling your friends. Be sure to leave us a comment. This is Tracy Dixon, ending transmission. Thanks for listening.